power motion picnic hour. Sometimes a special guest. Say your name, special guest.
Matthew Cull.
This is the power motion picnic hour. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Power Motion Picnic Hour. As always, I'm your host, Dave, and as always, beside me is our other host,
Trevor.
Trevor. What's going on? How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Dave?
Oh, I'm good. It's great to be here. What what season is this?
We are now in season 3,
Wow, season 3.
episode 1 of season 3.
The Power Motion Picnic Hour, Fire Walk With Me.
Yes, we just released that.
That was cool. Made for TV movie.
Over the weekend. We did it in the form of a live stream of the Krampus Classic that was well attended, and the recordings have since been posted for the listener, and I'd say we really did it.
Yeah, I got some I guess it's technically mailbag, but really it was just people telling me face to face that they enjoyed the live stream.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, so that's basically
a viewer for the first time.
A viewer. That's right. Yeah, all this technology I don't understand, as as Elton John or William Shatner would say.
Well, for those that were unable to join the live stream, which is our version of the full-length movie that was made about Twin Peaks in between seasons 2 and 3, was just me deciding to hit the live button for the first time in Instagram.
Yeah.
To see if it would work. And I wasn't sure if I'd even have signal. So I was sort of expecting it might be like listener Dan's community mile effort that sort of ran until he just lost signal.
Yeah.
But apparently a couple viewers were there. I saw some chatter. I was in the middle of the race and running, so I couldn't respond, but there were quite a few people there. It was pretty cool.
And I think what's almost most exciting about it, because it's still up, right? You could still revisit the live stream as a archival footage. And it makes me think of, we have a listener who once told me in a sort of mailbag entry, also face to face, decades before we started this podcast, once told me that he watched Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me by accident before watching Twin Peaks the series, thinking it was the pilot, and then proceeded to spoil the entire series for himself by watching something that came out after season 2. So what I'm trying to say is, maybe in this age of binge viewing and archival everything, someone can watch the Krampus Classic before even beginning episode 1, Soul Runner, Henry David Thoreau, and spoil, the ending, I guess, of this podcast.
Yeah. Well, the big spoiler for us is it's I think it's just a lot of heavy breathing and clomping on the ground.
More Blair Witch than Twin Peaks.
I'd say so. It lacks David Lynch's visual sensibilities.
It's more like the film where Andy Warhol just filmed the Empire State Building for 8 hours.
I think it's more like that.
Well, that's the sort of a classic in its own right. So we'll take what we can get.
Yeah. Well, we did take the viewer past Krampus Creek, where on the first lap of the Krampus Classic, unnamed non-listener actually fell in Krampus Creek.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, not fully, but I turned back and he had tried to step on this log and ended up being up to his knee on his left side, just his shoe just completely in Krampus Creek.
So this was not a dog. This was a human.
This was a human participant. Yeah,
wow.
Correct. There were 2 dogs. I mean, the dogs went in Krampus Creek, but that was to be expected.
That was intentional.
Yeah. This human runner ended up in front of spectators, no less. An unknown mother and her young son sitting there and enjoying the view, and then along comes a racer and into Krampus Creek.
That's usually how it happens, right? At the worst moment. I think you're the exception. Is you're you seem very together. You have very good running form. You're very athletic. But then when you're alone in the woods, you're just taking falls.
It's so funny because we didn't talk about this, but yeah, after running 12 and a half miles for the Krampus Classic, on Saturday, when I went out for a run yesterday, which was Monday, like 100 yards in, I tripped on a root
Yeah.
and like crashed into a tree, like caught myself in the chest, like with the tree and like hugged it. Like it was like a
Like
full out fall.
like it was a football move or
Yeah. And I like crumpled to the ground and I was like, oh man, like how did that
yeah, and it's
happen?
if you didn't have a running podcast, if you weren't the host of a popular running podcast, no one would know that you ever fell because they would just see you in public moments and oh, that guy, look at him go.
Look at him go.
That's a real runner.
I did crash several times during my Vulcan's Fury, perhaps my top race performance, by most objective standards. But yeah, Krampus Classic, good time. We awarded the Crampion. The trophy went to a dog, actually,
Good.
Alpine. Um,
I saw a picture of
and
that.
yeah, there's a picture of our Crampion. Yeah, he inspired. He was a real comeback. Definitely had some hard times on trails with other dogs, like really bad, and so like had to be on the leash the whole time, and kept his composure and ran a great race, and won by popular vote. So
Oh, that's awesome. And yeah, we're always just racing against ourselves, so I guess he had a lot to conquer.
a Knobscot Hill.
I'm glad to hear it went so well. I wish I could have been there. Um, I was there in spirit, sort of.
You
Uh,
were, yeah.
I couldn't watch most of the footage because I was running myself at the time. So that's also,
Yeah. I mean, you got your own running to do.
we're all
Training for
running
the
our own
running.
race. Yeah.
We did get some mailbag though from
Oh.
the Sudbury Conservation Commission.
Oh, I was hoping we'd hear back from them.
Yeah, wonderful. Um, Unfortunately, not going to be special guests, but wrote back and uh, said basically something along the lines of like, "Thank you, but like podcasts are not my thing," which we respect.
I respect that. Yeah.
And then something positive like "Happy running" or something cool like that.
All right, cool. Well, yeah, I
Yeah,
accept any generally positive salutations. So
yeah,
thank you, Sudbury Conservation Society.
yeah.
Is that what they're called?
Commission.
Commission.
Yeah, of
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And I'm sure they're listening. So
course. So yeah, and that's I think what I got. I mean, so we did have a special guest. Did you have any other news we before we get into that great conversation?
no, yeah, I mean, there's more to talk about, but yeah, let's get to that conversation. That was really exciting talking to Matthew and hearing him kind of talk about running from an era we don't talk about as much, which is strange because I feel like we talk about the 1990s, but not, and we talk about ultra running, but not as one thing.
We talk about our running in the 90s,
Yeah. And
but that's about it. And this was very cool. And he was as we'll learn, a very accomplished runner in many ways, but
yeah,
also with some just really cool perspective.
yeah, no, it was great. It was great to hear all sorts of stuff from him. And little spoiler, dear listener, this might have been a professional runner in 1993, but I did tell him about the pair of Reebok pumps I was wearing in 1993. So there's a nice thread running through everything. And
We sort of went back and forth a little bit on race results, which was cool too.
yeah,
And like all of our recent special guests, spoiler alert, Matthew also held an FKT for our now oft talked about Hut Traverse.
yeah, exactly. That's basically a prereq for being one of our special guests, unless you're a keyboard player from Denton, Texas.
Yeah, yeah. It's now if you're not that, it's now do you run and what's your relationship to huts?
Yeah, and that's it. And I guess maybe we should go to that now before we risk any more spoilers. This is the Power Motion Picnic Hour.
I'm in Carbondale, which is 30 miles down the street from Aspen.
Okay, I've never been.
Yeah. No.
I've been around Colorado a little bit, but I guess mostly like Denver, Boulder, and Summit County.
Yeah, right. Okay. Summit
Okay.
County is 100 miles away.
Okay, and I think I've been to South Park County,
Yeah, right.
which is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in between.
Even further away.
Yeah. I went to a place in South Park County called the South Park Saloon, and it advertised as being the highest elevation saloon in the country.
Actually, well, I've the two towns, Leadville and Alma, I think are the highest towns or highest post offices, highest towns in the United States.
Yeah, it was in Alma,
So, yeah, yeah, there you go.
so that makes
Yeah.
sense. I was standing on the porch or the front, whatever you call the front of a saloon, the cowboy loitering area, and and I said to my friend, I said, I love this bar. And I don't remember why. It was really a pretty regular kind of place. And a guy walking by goes, "Bars down the street. This here's a saloon." It's awesome. Anyway, that's enough about high elevation saloons. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us. We're happy to
Surely,
have you here.
that's happy to be a part of this. It's great.
Yeah, appreciate it. And so I guess Matthew, maybe if you don't mind to start, just maybe if you could just share your name and just a little bit about yourself with the listeners.
My name is Matthew Cull, and I grew up in Australia first 20 years, 21 years, and since then I've lived in the US. Started in Vermont for about a dozen years, and then moved to Colorado. I was in Vail, Colorado for about another dozen years, and now I've been in the Aspen Valley for about another dozen. So I've been in this country a long time. So I've had a varied career in running. But retired from that quite some time ago, but was definitely a highlight of my life, and happy to talk about it and other things.
Awesome. Well, that sounds great. Yeah, I think we first maybe we'll go back to your years in sort of Vermont in the Northeast to start. We sort of first found out about you because coincidentally, we have a lot of special guests on sort of try to represent a lot of different types of running. And we started to notice that our last two special guests were both the most recent female FKT holders of the Hut Traverse, the White Mountain Hut Traverse. And then we saw your name on there from 93, which is the first sort of that's listed anyway on the site. And we're just curious. So maybe tell us a little bit about sort of that time and that route and sort of what inspired you.
I think I was reading somewhere in a magazine about the Hut Traverse, but it wasn't about running. It was more the Hut Traverse was traditionally something done by the the guys that carried in all the supplies and food for all the
Mm-hmm.
huts, White Mountains, and it gave me an idea to run the whole thing. Back then, I was pretty competitive, doing a lot of running a lot of races, so I was pretty fit, and I figured, it was about 50 miles, I believe, with a gobsmack of vertical, and I just got the idea to do it. So I sort of planned it out and hiked up with a friend to, I think it's Lake of the Clouds, the
Mm-hmm.
easternmost one.
Oh,
And
east. You went east to west. Interesting.
do most people go the other way?
I think so. We'll have to verify that. I was pretty sure most people. Well, no, I guess not because it must be the standard route. Does it matter which direction you go in?
I have no idea. I mean,
Interesting.
same amount of vertical, same trail. So what does it matter
Yeah.
which way you go?
No, I don't think
And
it does.
although doing it east to west, you do get the highest range out of the way earlier on in the day rather than leaving it to the end. But then you have the other range, which is pretty damned high, and I forget the names because it's so long ago. That's pretty near the end too. So it doesn't seem to be much of a muchness. Anyway, we hiked up there in the evening and we camped out and then set off the next day. I actually had a piece of paper with me, and I had the various somebody from each of the hut crews sign with the time at each hut, and yeah, I basically started, did it June or July when the days were longer. Started basically at first light and finished in the dark, and so yeah, pretty tough day. I mean, it's a very rough trail, and there were places, certainly as I was starting to fade for the second half, where it was just not runnable. I was doing a lot of hiking, so
Right, right.
because it's so freaking rough. So
I'm trying to remember what your time was. Maybe we could tell our listeners. Was it around 13 hours? Was that what it was?
13:09.
Okay. I've never been out there, but that sound from I've looked at a list of times. That sounds quite fast.
Yeah, I don't. Do you guys know what the current FKT is?
Yeah, so Jack Kensel just took it below 10 hours, I think 2 years ago. It's like
Wow.
9:58, I think.
Wow.
Also quite fast.
Jeez, that's pretty fast. Just lopped off almost a third off of what I did, or a quarter off what I did. Jeez, that's pretty
It's
fast.
crazy.
He's
Yeah.
probably got more high-tech shoes than you had though.
Yeah, let's blame it on the shoes. That must be it.
There's not a chance that what you had could compete with what he had. What do you
Yeah,
remember what kind of shoes you were wearing actually?
oh, absolutely no way. Absolutely not.
Yeah, it could have been it. You were probably doing it in Chuck Taylors if it was 93.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I mean, I think it was Nike something anyway, but yeah, I
All
don't
right.
know.
Not Reebok pumps.
No, not at all.
I always love
Yeah.
telling the story of the first day I showed up to track practice, first time ever, which was 1993. And I was 10 years old and I did wear a pair of Reebok pumps. And
There you go.
I love this story. And the coach yelled at me. He was like, maybe he didn't yell, but like, he was like, what are you doing? You need to get running shoes. I was like, what are you talking about, man? These are like the best shoes in the world. And yeah, it was a real not seeing eye to eye moment that he did eventually win out. And something at some point I came back with,
Surprise.
yeah, I came back with some Nike, I don't know, Pegasus or something, maybe a lesser version of that.
And so anyway, I mean, I think the 13 hours, it stood for 20 something years too, which is really cool. And I feel like that's like since then people have been breaking it every couple of years, it seems, but yours held for quite a while.
Well, I'm happy to hear that it lasted so long. It was worth the effort then.
There you go. There you go. You aside from the Hut Traverse, which we're happy to talk about other running and non-running parts, because it looks like you've done a lot of interesting things since then too. So maybe what sort of like what were you doing around then in terms of your competitive running, and then anything you'd want to share about your travels sort of since.
So yeah, I went through various periods where I was competitive and doing a lot of running and being competitive, and then traveling and not being competitive, not running at all basically. And I did pretty well. Northeast Trail Runner Circuit, a lot of the off-road races around New England, and did very well. Actually, the Escarpment Trail had the record for that, and the Seven Sisters, and a bunch of other major races in the Northeast. But it was for me running. Sort of the competition was actually the second tier importance of why I ran. Most of the reason why I ran was just to be out there doing stuff and being out there in the woods and the scenery, and getting to some pretty spectacular scenes or vistas and pretty quickly by running. And so that was always my main motivation. In 93 and 95, I was selected to be on the US mountain running team. In 93, I went to Gap, France for the World Championships, and we did a couple of other races as well. And then in 95, I was on the team again, and we went to Edinburgh, and there was the World Championships, or the World Trophy, as it's really called, of mountain running there as well. Wow. And, it's kind of like, it's being a mountain runner in the US and being, one of the best in the country is kind of like being one of the best orienteers or one of the best cross-country skiers, and then you go to Europe and you just completely get your ass kicked because it's just a whole different level of competition and capability.
Whoa. What country had the best runners? Not Scotland, I would guess.
I think Italy was right up there, actually.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, cross-country skiing, orienteering, downhill skiing. I mean, they just have so much depth, because in Europe, mountain running is so much more, popular. It's got so much more money behind it. And, mountain running in the US is such a fringe sport. There's no money in it. So, once you start throwing money and popularity, the competition just gets so much better. Anyway, went to Europe, got my ass kicked. And then I also went to Europe for the Fila Skyrunners World Championships, which was in Cervinia, Italy, and that was at this point, I'd done a lot of races, done really well, and I was getting to the point where at some point this party is not going to last, and I was pretty much kind of over the whole competition thing, because it take so much commitment, so much training, and if you want to do well, if you've already done well, it's really hard to go back. It's hard to come 10th when you used to come first.
Oh yeah.
So and then I was at that world the Fila Sky Marathon World Championships, and a couple of days before the race, I was actually reconnoitering the course with a bunch of other guys, like an Italian person and an Austrian and another American, Lyndon. The course was crazy. Went up to 4,000 meters, crossed over a glacier, up through a ski field, blah, blah, blah. It was just this unbelievable course that only the Europeans could put together. We actually cut the rope. It was that people were skiing. It was July, but people were still skiing because it was so high and there's so much snow. It's a glacier. And so we cut the rope to cut the corner, and we're part way up this slope. And suddenly the people ahead of me, the other people I was hiking with, started yelling at me, stop moving, stop moving.
Uh-oh.
And I didn't know what was going on. And these two people took off down the slope. And it turned out that my friend Lyndon from Colorado had fallen through a crevasse.
Whoa.
And stood there, waited. Eventually a helicopter came, took us off the ice, basically took us off the ice, and eventually pulled out Lyndon. He was dead, of course.
Oh.
And
jeez.
And so a couple of days later, I still did the race. The other guys didn't do it because they just didn't have the stomach for it. And I had basically the worst race of my life. I came dead last. In fact, I was so far behind. They were pulling down all the banners and pulling everything apart at the finish line. And so that was basically the end of my running career. So then from then, which wasn't completely the end of my running career, but I stopped training and I did a bunch of races after that, mostly uphill races out here in Colorado. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but uphilling is quite popular, especially in this valley, and it involves running, hiking, or skiing from the base of a ski area to the top.
I don't think I knew about that.
Yeah, it's like a whole sport here. They're very short because it's only from the base of the top, so it may be only 2 or 3 miles. And usually the grade is that it's almost impossible to run unless you're like the top guy.
Okay.
So it's a walking race. Which lends itself very well to somebody who hikes a lot but doesn't run, which is what I was doing. So I've done a bunch of those. But I haven't raced now probably in 10 years.
Okay.
Any kind of race. And so now I mostly do traveling and hiking and cycling. And so still out, still very active. I'm just not competing and I'm not running. So
do you find you enjoy it more now that you're not competing, now that you're doing it maybe for the pure joy?
Oh, I wouldn't say yes, sure. I mean, certainly there's a lot less, there's not the pressure of running and training and the pressure you have on yourself to do a particular time or come in a particular place. But so yeah, I can just go out and enjoy it. And it's what a lot of the things I'm doing, have been very intense over the years. Yeah, and as equally as demanding, but in a different way. But it's just no pressure because, you have to get somewhere, but you don't have to do it in a particular time, nor do you have to get into a particular place to feel good about yourself. So
yeah, I feel like I could get into that kind of uphill racing. For a while, I got kind of addicted to the stair machine at the gym.
Oh, that's same idea.
Same idea, right? yeah, right. And I think I was good at it, although I have like nothing to judge it by, because I feel like even the other people at the gym on the machines next to me like weren't doing it the same way I was, Like I got really into you could type in what was it? They were like structures around the world you could try to climb the height of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so the tallest structure was the Burj Khalifa. Is that how you say that? In Dubai?
That is pretty much the highest structure. So
yeah. And so I would put it on that and I would just do it faster and faster and faster as fast as I could. But like I said, I have nobody. I would get the high score in the machine, but I don't think like I'd be like the top 5 names. But
Right.
I don't think I was really like competing against anybody like who was as into it as I was or was top in any way. So I don't think it's any kind of
Right.
Fifth place against those 4 other people that didn't know they were in a race.
they didn't know. Yeah, to them it was not a race. It was like almost their easy day at the gym. They're like, oh no, I'm not gonna run today. I'm gonna go easy on the Stairmaster. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought somebody would someday ask or find out who I was. Be like, whoa, you're DJT, the top 5 on the
top 5.
Stairmaster? Nobody ever asked.
Well, we had a race just this past weekend here that I organized, and my wife tends to call it not a race, but just a run in the woods with my 2 friends, because that's basically what it ended up being. But we did like a 4-hour, just like sort of like lapping around this one little hill nearby in the woods, and I came in 5th place in that race.
Out of 5?
Well, out of 6,
okay.
Including the 2 dogs,
Yeah.
and my son, who didn't actually race and just held sort of fort at base camp.
So you beat him.
So I lost. He came in 4th.
Oh, okay.
Because we ended up not scoring by like mileage or laps, but by popular vote. And anyway, I'm pretty happy with my fifth place finish.
Yeah, the second to last to lose.
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't know how many people were on the Stairmaster either.
That's true. I was also I could have been last on the Stairmaster as well.
Probably fewer dogs in that race. So yeah, I mean, Dave, you should get into that. We always try to get Dave into trail running because he's a bit more of a road runner. But aren't there races, Matthew? Like, is what you're talking about with like the vertical kilometer or like some of the up and down stuff? Is that like a similar category?
Well, basically, the vertical kilometer is exactly the same as an uphill. I mean, it's just that uphills are generally done in ski areas, and the advantage of doing an uphill in a ski area is that you could possibly get the lift down. So you save that couple of miles and a couple of 1,000 feet of jarring coming back down again. So
yeah, and as opposed to skiing, you could drink the beer on the way down instead of drinking the beer on the way up.
Yeah,
that's how I used to do it, I think.
Yeah,
but then, like I said, I haven't competed in the last 10 years, so it's mainly just being outside in the mountains. The mountains here are pretty spectacular. There's a bunch of 14,000 foot mountains basically within sight here.
Cool.
So, the outdoor options, the outdoor activities here are pretty superlative, and that's why I'm here. So
nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. I had a thought occur to me because we talked to a lot of contemporary long distance runners and current ultra, competitive ultra marathoners and stuff like that. And sometimes we hear about people listening to music when they're out there that long, Yeah. But if you were doing those really long distances in 1993, you couldn't just load up your Spotify with podcasts. But did you ever listen to anything like that when you were out there? Like, did you ever bring a bunch of cassettes or mini discs and listen to like a lot of music?
Never have. Whether I was back in my competitive days or these days, no. But it's part of the deal is being out there and immersed in the environment that you're in, and a lot of times wildlife give themselves away by sort of making a noise. So if you're got something else going on in your ears like music, you're not gonna. That's those potential wildlife sightings that you may not catch. So.
Right.
I'm with you. When I'm running outside, like if I'm on the stair machine or in a gym, I'll listen to headphones. But if I'm running outside, I like to just have the world be what I'm listening to.
Yeah.
But I do when I do run like races with a lot of people, you do see tons of people now with, earphones in.
Yeah, and sometimes I've had some issues with, especially cyclists or people just on, paved rec trails. And they're all over the place, and you announce from when you're coming from the rear, you announce you're going, and they don't hear you, so they're still all over the place.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of hazardous, but especially if you're cycling in traffic or something like that, it's kind of ridiculous to do that.
Cycling is crazy.
Yeah, I think cycling is is pretty hazardous no matter what. So yeah, anything you're doing to make it more hazardous is a rough idea,
Not too smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, to
Yeah.
each their own. To each their own. So.
I've gone both ways. I mean, I love just running in the woods, no music, no podcast, and that sort of immersive experience. But I've also, if I'm going out for like a training run or something, it's also like one of the best times for me to actually like listen to things. And since I love like music and stuff, it ends up being a good time to sort of like dive in or listen to new stuff too. So I kind of use you know, the time that way, I guess, sometimes.
Right. Yeah, I mean, whatever floats your boat, basically. I mean, if that's, especially some people find it really helpful because the beat of the music helps them keep up the pace.
Yeah.
Especially if especially if you're worried about training or times or something, then that can really help you speed you along. I mean, I've even noticed on events like snowboarding and skiing, people wearing listening to something, whatever they're listening to. So it obviously, either something as short as that, as opposed to spending hours running,
Yeah.
they find it helpful somehow. The up tempo beat gets them all
Mm-hmm.
psychologically revved up, so which could lead to physically better performance. So.
Yeah, I feel like one of our special guests, Brendan, was talking about that sort of like running like to the rhythm type thing. I think, and I feel like you do that a little bit, Dave, too, on like the indoor stuff you do, the treadmill and like.
If I'm on a treadmill, I'll definitely have headphones in but that's something I came to like specifically, at least originally, because like I thought the gym was playing such terrible music,
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
if you're in a gym, you don't have the ability to avoid music. So you might as well choose your own. But then then I did get, and we've talked about it obviously plenty here. Then I did get into the idea of running to certain things.
yeah.
My favorite being old ska music. Or
Makes you feel young again.
makes me feel like I'm a young man at a ska show just dancing. And in that mode,
Well,
you
that
can.
makes sense. I mean, it makes sense that you're inside. If you're inside, I mean, I
Yeah.
listen to music inside a car or inside a house all the time, but
Yeah.
outside.
What's your favorite music, Matthew? Or what's your favorite current thing you're listening to?
Oh, I don't have any favorite movies. I have this. I have a iTunes library with about 30 gigs of music, and it's always on shuffle.
Okay.
And I actually struggle with when there's more than 2 or 3 songs from the same person in a row.
Okay.
Yeah,
You like
it's
to mix it up.
totally eclectic, different all the time. Every song is different genre from the one before or after. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I've been listening for like 2 weeks almost exclusively mod revival music, 79 through like 83.
Like the Jam and that kind of stuff.
Like that and all the bands who were influenced by them, yeah. Like I've been
Nice.
doing the opposit of mixing it up. I've been listening to like the exact same thing, but not the same band, but the exact same style over and over.
Yeah, I do that sometimes too. I'll get stuck on like a time period or a genre.
You are living in the suburbs, and you have problems with your parents. So you move on up to London town, where you think everything's happening going down. Living in a backseat, driving on a tube train, working all day long. And you're not a one, so you don't go out, and you eat out teas on your good television. Solitary confinement.
Matthew, we really appreciate you coming on, and thank you so much for sharing. It was really awesome to hear all the
Yeah.
stories, and
Okay.
yeah. I guess anything else you'd want to share? Any advice to the listeners as they're just sort of embarking on their running careers, or yeah, I guess just any closing thoughts.
I would say that do it because you love it. Sort of like not because you're trying for a particular performance or a particular time, or even for competition itself. You're running or any activity. I mean, anything in life basically, but especially an activity. There are so many activities to choose from. There isn't much of an excuse really not to be an active person in some sort of field or another, because there's so many activities you can partake in, whether it be ball sports or some activity that takes you places like running or cycling or hiking. But pick the activity that you really love, and if that turns into something that you want to be competitive with, great. If not, fabulous. Just enjoy it for its own sake and enjoy the environment and the experience that you have, and have it enrich your life just through the experience itself.
Awesome. I love that. That's
Very
great.
cool.
That's a perfect,
Yeah.
perfect thought to leave on. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for the invite.
This is the Power Motion Picnic Hour.
Oh, thank you so much, Matthew, for coming on. That was awesome. It was a great talk, and what an awesome, inspiring closing thought to leave us with. That was really great.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Matthew.
All right. Well, I mean, we do have lots of news and lots of things always going on in the Power Motion Picnic Hour universe. We covered the Krampus Classic. Do we have anything else about that, or did we update everybody on everything people have been dying to find out?
I think there was just the format change was alluded to, I believe, in our chat with Matthew, and but just to sort of clarify, it was one of the young apprentices. I was unable to secure a backup sort of childcare option, so we ended up, the night before deciding to appoint him as assistant race director, official photographer, and official scorer. So he had all kinds of duties, and of course was in the back handing out free bobos to the runners as they came through on their breaks. But because we had the young apprentice, somebody always had to stay by the car, so we ended up doing it more like relay style, like two people went out and then the next two went, sort of trading off sort of the longer stay, and it ended up being a lot of fun. We ran a total of 38 laps.
Wow.
Between the six of us. Yeah.
That's amazing. Congratulations to you and all the participants, and also the new race director.
It's like the Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, if you want to win a race, something about, running one that nobody else is in.
Yeah, that's the way to win.
Yeah.
Invent your own category in the community mile, or make your own race.
Yeah, make your own kind of music, float your own kind of boat, whatever.
Yeah, that's right. Well, as I said, I was there with you guys spiritually a bit, running, doing some LA marathon training.
Yeah, tell us about that.
It's and I'm under 5 weeks away now, so I was a little bit nervous a few weeks ago. I remember being on pod, just worried, saying, I gotta get those mileages up. But I feel better after these last couple weekends. And 2 days ago, during the Krampus Classic, I ran 18.5 miles.
Oh, wow.
So that's a nice distance. Just out there solo, running a little over 3 laps in Central Park. A little bit hungover.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't do that as much anymore, especially for a run that long. But that was good to know. That was almost good, race day, when like you might not be hungover on race day, but you might have had a bad night's sleep the night before. You're dealing with non-ideal conditions, so I created that for myself a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's something I talk about often. I'm not sure on pod yet, but in the real world, I often mention working through self-imposed adversity.
Yep, exactly. And so I did a little bit of that, but it felt really good. Like I said, a little over 1 lap in Central Park is a 10K, so I did a little over 3, so about 18.5, and my finish was Tavern on the Green. I could see it. I could see the rooftop of that peeking over the last hill. I got pretty excited, and I had a burst of energy, of course.
Classic.
Yeah, mostly because of the excitement, a little bit because of the caffeinated goo gel tab I'd taken a couple miles back to fly me back into the end. But yeah, that was pretty great, pretty fun, and probably just 2 more long runs before the marathon before I start tapering a little bit.
That's really cool. So you're like you're kind of are you entering the home stretch, or is it just that you have to stay consistent and not have any like super long runs and then sort of unleash it for the day, or like what's your strategy?
I don't know. I mean, I'm still just doing a soul runner approach to training, but the one difference this time around is I'm piggybacking on a female gear shed testing correspondent's really regimented training plan.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think she has 2 more long runs, and I might just go along for those.
Nice.
And I might do the kind of thing I've been doing, whereas if I have a little bit left in the tank at the end of those, I kind of stretch them out. That's
stretch them out distance or
depending on where it is, distance or time or both. I did that when we did like a 15 together, and that's kind of how I stretched that out to 15 and 3/4, I think, just by running
Nice.
ahead and looping myself through the little island and like little extra stuff like that.
Oh yeah, the little island.
I like to add hills when I can. Although if you're just running in Central Park is great for hills. So,
Yeah, it does have nice hills.
oh yeah, it's wonderful. But yeah, so that's exciting. I'm getting excited for that coming up. Like I said, under 5 weeks away.
Central Park kind of reminds me of Golden Gate Park. Just not quite. The hills aren't quite as big, but it's kind of like it's
Yeah,
more than you got anywhere else
it's great.
close to you on like on the island. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, it's by far the best thing I have. So and Saturday was like in the mid high 50s. So I was out there just running in my 2-inch shorts and like
Nice.
race singlet and a Fila headband. So the way I like to run. Um,
Yeah.
although it was the first time running outside in shorts like that in a while, and I think I realized that I've become a running tights person.
Oh, I love the tights.
Yeah, this happened to me over the winter, and so I think I'm gonna have to get some sort of short running shorts tights or whatever they're called.
You can get that's probably right for you.
I think that's what I need. Might need
They
those
have the regular shorts with the built-in sort of like tight liner too.
Yeah, I have something like that I actually don't run in. Maybe they are running shorts. I just use them for non-running days at the gym.
Hmm.
Maybe I'll take those for a spin. On a shorter run, see how it feels.
Well, you tend to like them pretty short. I mean, the traditional sort of like ultra light running short is just loose and very short.
Yeah. That's what I was in.
It's probably like your 2 inches.
Yeah, but we'll see. I'm gonna be in some warmer climates a little bit as part of my training. I'm flying to Wilmington, North Carolina tomorrow for work,
Nice.
and then I'll be in Florida in a couple of weeks for family stuff. So
I'll be good.
yeah, so I'm gonna get some good runs in both of those places. So this is really kind of easing into the home stretch here.
Awesome. And who knows how many episodes we'll have until a very special marathon, LA marathon recap.
I can't wait. I can't wait. And I'm trying to figure out what shoe to wear. So maybe we'll just kind of do into the gear shed because I did pick up a new pair of shoes.
Oh,
I just got these yesterday. This
look
is
at those.
the Adidas Supernova Solution, which are awesome.
Those look great.
And I didn't run them in the park. I bought them yesterday. I ran them today just for a kind of a short 4 mile on the treadmill. But they were recommended by my good friend at the running store.
Nice.
I went in and asked if I could try a pair of Saucony Tempest and a pair of Asics Gel Kayanos. And then he brought those two out, and then he brought another Saucony, and then he brought these Adidas.
And you chose those.
The Adidas came home. It was a pretty close call, actually, between the Adidas and the Saucony. But
Hmm.
I wanted the Saucony to win because they were like plain black. And I was like, that would be more practical to own. But that's okay. I got these cobalt, I guess. That's what you'd call these.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Looks primary blue on the Zoom.
Yeah, I had an LL Bean backpack this color about 30 years ago.
Nice.
So maybe I'll get my initials stitched into these as well. But yeah,
Matthew used that type of bag on his FKT, I believe.
the LL Bean.
Yeah, a blue one specifically.
Probably. There were only like 3 colors back then. There was
It's part of the lore.
cobalt, there was red, and there
Red,
was
for
I think there was
sure.
a green, right?
Probably would have been like a forest green.
Did you have an LL Bean backpack?
No, I had an East pack.
That's cooler, I think.
Then I had a Jan Sport.
Also, I'd say cooler. I had an LL Bean for a little bit, and the problem with the LL Bean backpack was at first it seemed like a good thing because it was so big. You know, oh, you can fit so much in here, but you just put in as much as will fit in there, and then you're some 5 foot tall child walking around with like a turtle shell on the back of you, and like that. First of all, it's not good for you. Second of all, you don't need every book at all times.
Bunch of mangoes.
Yeah, and then at third, it opens you up to all sorts of like weird things that kids can do, grabbing your backpack and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So at some point, despite having the nice bean backpack, I ditched it, and I got like an off-brand backpack.
Nice.
Yeah, which I thought was super cool. How did you wear it? Did you go 2 shoulders? Did you go 1?
Probably would have been mostly one around that time.
around the time that I switched to the off-brand, and this is probably being 12 years old, I remember I got this black and brown backpack, which you can make black and brown work, and that it was very in the mid 90s. It was kind of a skatery kind of look that I would wear. How would I do it? I would like only have one of the shoulder things even latched, so the other one wasn't even hooked up, and I would wear it diagonally.
Oh,
Like as if it was like a messenger bag.
satchel. Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was just a backpack. And I'm sure I saw some older kid do it and just like stole it from him.
That's cool.
It felt cool. I don't know. I don't know if it was, but it felt very cool.
I mean, yeah, it was.
It was a step up from the LL Bean backpack.
Yeah. Oh, I was picturing LLB and I forgot you were now talking about the black and brown one.
Something tiny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like JanSport size. It was like a JanSport.
Yeah. Oh, and I guess I had one final mailbag.
Okay, let's do it. Let's get in there.
Get it in. So we had a dear listener write in and say that she knows this was I guess I won't give any spoilers out, but she knows somebody that might make a great special guest or had an idea. You could almost call it like a request, a listener request, like, hey, could you get like so and so for special guests? And I just wanted to say we certainly encourage, we're happy to take any requests and we'll do our best to fulfill them.
That's a great idea. Yeah, exactly. We're happy to get the request and we'll reach out to almost anyone you suggest that we reach out to.
Correct. And if you happen to have found an email for Zdeno Chara, we'll take that. Otherwise we're usually pretty good on our own.
We can usually find the person, but we don't have any contact for him yet. But we've gotten a lot of people asking for him.
Correct. Big runner, ultra runner.
Very tall. He's doing marathons now, right?
He was doing marathons. I think he started doing ultras. I think he ran a 50K.
I'm excited about that.
Maybe we're just waiting for him to become Hut Traverse FKT holder.
Wait till he finds out about it. Wait till he hears this episode. He might even be a listener. He might be shocked to find out we've been looking for him because he's maybe been hoping we'd reach out.
It very well could be true.
So Zdeno, just as you know, as a longtime listener yourself, just comment on any picture on our Instagram, or comment on any picture on Dave Rawlings' Instagram, and it'll get to us. Dave knows what to do with the messages.
That's right.
Okay, well, I guess that's us winding down on this very special season of opener, premiere, debut of the Power Motion Picnic Hour in uncharted waters, right? Emulating a season of Twin Peaks that we haven't even seen.
Yeah, I'm just still doing the 8 episodes where the plot goes sideways and nothing happens.
You're still you're keeping that spirit alive.
Well, I think I'm realizing we're sort of in this land of huts right now that we didn't even know we were in until we were pretty deep.
We've had 3 of the top Hut Traverse runners of all time, right? Is that fair to say?
Correct. Yeah, definitely held the fastest times for some period of their lives and some period of our lives as a result too. So
yeah, there's a crossover there. That's exciting. I can't wait to see what happens next, whether it's Zdeno or whatever else happens. It should be an exciting season no matter what.
I can't wait.
Until next time.
Onward.
Special guest
Matthew Cull.
This is the Power